So next coming up, we've got Courtney Phillips Long, and she was here. This is her 4th time to join our broadcast. So Courtney, you in the house, girl?
Hey, April, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
My ears.
You able to hear me?
How are you doing,
look
girl?
Gorgeous.
Oh man, thanks. You look gorgeous. Come on.
Thank you. I don't feel gorgeous. I've been working my buns off all day.
Oh, well, you always look great, man. So it's so
Well,
good to see you. Thanks for joining again. 4 years in a row, man. You're like a rock star.
Am I the triple negative rock star?
You
I
are.
think
Well,
so.
it's
I
so
think
cool.
That's actually you.
No, dude. Well, yeah, but you you co-hosted the first year. I think you actually co-hosted with me 4 years ago. And then for each of the next years, you've been on as a guest. It's been super cool. And your dog's in the house. And there's no extra charge for that, is there? Is there an extra charge for having the dog with you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can.
Hey, Kieran, get her and go put her in the bathroom for me.
Yeah, get her and put her in the bathroom.
I'm getting my daughter to work for me right now.
That's
Sorry about
awesome.
that.
Good job, dude.
Of
Good
course,
job.
the dog that never barks.
Right,
Like, the dog
and then
never
all of a sudden,
barks.
and
And
she's
now,
like,
of course, she's gonna start barking right now.
yeah,
so.
she's like, I'm on air, man. I'm ready for my big
I know.
debut.
She's like, it's my debut.
It's all good. Well, Courtney, a lot of the people who are watching may have seen you before, but there's a lot of people watching that maybe haven't. And so I would love it if you could take us back to when you were first diagnosed. And before you do that, I should fill everybody in because I love telling this story. The way we met was super cool. So you're friends with a friend that I've had for over probably 20 years, Brandy McComb. She does photography, so it's Brandy McComb Photography.
Yes, shout out to Brandy.
Yes, exactly. She's awesome. And so I heard about you through her. As soon as you were diagnosed, she let me know. She's like, my friend, Courtney, she's been diagnosed with triple negative. I want you to talk to her. I want you to meet her, blah, blah, blah. And then Jeff Durbin, who was my guitar player in my band back in 1991, we were first called Freeloader, and then we were called Slogan. And he was my guitar player in that band. And apparently, he's your cousin, Jeff Durbin.
Yes, Jeff is my cousin.
Yeah,
my cousin by marriage. So
yeah, and so I had Brandy and Jeff coming at me from different places saying, I know this person who's been diagnosed with triple negative. You need to meet her. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I put it together that it was the same person. And I was like, whoa, what are the chances of that? So super small world.
And you know, April, I mean, I knew you before you knew me, really.
Yeah,
because, I mean, I had gone to see Metal Shop play, you know, and
Right.
I think even me and my husband had come and seen you play like at Wizards or something.
Well, see,
you know,
it's crazy. It's crazy. So there's like 3 connections that way for us. Metal Shop,
I know.
Brandy and Jeff. It's so nuts, man. So when you came on 4 years ago, you were still in the thick of your battle, but lead the viewers up to kind of how you got to the point of your diagnosis. Like,
yeah. So,
really
oh my goodness. I guess I was 35 when I was diagnosed. And because I'm under 40, of course, they tested me for the BRCA gene, and I am positive. I'm BRCA1 positive, which is ovarian and breast. And they say if you want to have one of them, that's the one to have because it's not as bad. BRCA2 has a lot more other cancers that it can cause as well.
Yeah.
But I say, you know, either one of them are bad, really.
Right. Well, I think the BRCA1, don't they say that it raises your risk of ovarian cancer by something like 80%, right?
Yes,
Isn't it something
80%
like
chances of getting ovarian cancer. So not only was I faced with a mastectomy and chemo and all of that, but then I also needed to have a hysterectomy as well, which I know a lot of us do that. A lot of women do that, you know, that have like a hormonal based cancer as well.
Uh-huh.
But with triple negative, you know, I don't think that people think about that as much, but because of the fact that I was BRCA1 positive, right. My doctors were like, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. I mean, you have to have a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
So
totally.
That was one thing that was really scary for me in the beginning because I had, you know, I was 35 years old. I had a 4-year-old at the time.
Wow.
And that year, it was 2015, that was the year that my husband and I were going to start trying for baby number 2.
Wow.
And I laugh about it now and I'm like, okay, well, cancer was my baby, like.
Wow, yeah, yeah.
So instead of actually having a baby, I had my cancer baby.
Right.
I know that sounds really weird, but that's just how I looked at it.
Well, it's sort of like the birthing process.
And I try to be like optimistic about everything.
Right.
But so that year I had to make some really big decisions, and I had to make them quickly because my cancer was so aggressive and it was growing. I believe they told me it was like 95% rate that it was growing.
Wow,
so
that's
my
terrifying.
Doctor, it really, really is. And when you're given that news, it's like an instant black cloud over your head, and
Right.
it just feels like, okay, you're telling me that I have breast cancer. Okay, I can take that, but then you're telling me that I have the worst breast
Right.
cancer that is out there.
Right.
And it really does feel like a death sentence in that moment.
Right.
But you also get into this mode, or I know I did, and I'm sure I know you did too. It's this fight mode, and you get into that fight mode, and you're ready to just take it on,
Yeah.
and that's what I did instantly. But I had a lot of decisions to make really, really fast because they said, okay, you've got this really aggressive cancer, so if you want to have another baby, you're going to have to think about, do you want to take the risk of this cancer, growing really rapidly, really fast, and saving eggs and going through all these shots
Wow,
to save
yeah.
eggs and things like that? Or do you want to go ahead and get this chemo in you now? Because my oncologist was like, I want to start chemo with you like yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it's such an aggressive form, and the rate in which you said that it was just growing. Right?
Yes, it was growing super fast. So I prayed about it, and I said, I'm 35. I'm at the age where it's kind of like, okay, do you have another baby? Do you not? And my husband and I had been really back and forth with it, and I just felt like, I've got to be here for the child that I have now. I don't need to be here for a child that I may have. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's a really good way to
go
think
ahead
of
and
it.
take that and just say, you know what? I'm here, and I need to be healthy and happy for my child that I have now, and so I can be here as long as I can be for her.
Yeah.
And so thinking about having another baby just kind of went away, and I got into that fight mode, and I knew that I had to, fight for her and fight for my husband and my family and for myself,
Yeah,
So,
you really made the choice to choose the life that you had, having a life at all, and keeping, staying here on Earth with your husband and your daughter, right? I mean, it was like
absolutely.
you had to fight for that.
Yeah, I had to fight for that, not the ifs or what ifs or, all of that, because I didn't have another child yet. I had the one that was staring me right in the face,
Yeah,
so
no
I
doubt.
needed to be here for her. Sorry, I'm getting choked up now.
Oh no! I mean that's a great point. I mean, people need to understand that. I mean, these are the emotions that you go through when you receive a diagnosis of a rare and aggressive, more likely to recur breast cancer that is triple negative. I mean, it's the real deal, man.
It's scary, and I remember sitting in my surgeon's office, and I had just had a friend that was diagnosed about 6 months prior to me with triple negative, and she was only 27 years old.
Wow, that is so young.
And I knew what triple negative was. I knew what it was. I knew how aggressive it was. And when they said the words triple negative to me, my mom actually recorded it. I've never listened to it.
Really?
Yeah, I want to listen to it, but I've never listened to it. But she recorded the exact moment that they diagnosed me.
Wow.
And she was recording it because she wanted to remember what all the doctor was telling us, different things and stuff. And at this point, I didn't know with triple negative. We knew that I had breast cancer. We just didn't know what type of breast cancer we had. I
Wow.
had.
Yeah.
And I've never listened to it, but I want to. But then there's part of me that's like, I don't know. Do I want to, do I want to listen to it? Or do I not want to?
Yeah,
But I'm getting to that point now where I think that I'm in that healing process. I'm on the other side of it now, to where I can go back and I can look at things like that. And,
right.
And it's weird because it's like, wow, was that even me?
No,
because you're kind of a different person.
Right.
Before cancer, and then during cancer, and then after cancer.
Yeah, it's sort of like a rebirth, really. That's what it felt like for me, anyway. Like when we were talking to Becky earlier, you have this whole different perspective. So it just changes. You have a whole new, everything has this gloss of what you just went through. So you have this whole different perspective, a whole different glasses, if you will, that you're seeing the world through, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it was like a rebirth. You know, I always say, because it was the day before my 36th birthday that I was diagnosed.
Ouch.
And I always say that, you know, I kind of celebrate both birthdays, because I feel like it is a rebirthing, you know, like that was my cancer birthday. And it's like, you know, I'm sure for you, it's the same way. It's like you have all these dates. Once you've been through cancer, there's like all these dates that stick out in your mind. There's the diagnosis date. There's the date that you're in remission. There's, you know, the date of your surgery. I mean, you have all these new dates.
Yes, you do.
know, and so it's like you can celebrate all of them. And in that way, you know, it's good because you can celebrate overcoming so much, you know, in your life.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely
you know,
true.
so,
and you're right. You have all these dates of, you know, this is the date I was diagnosed. This is the date of my mastectomy. This is the day I started the chemo. This is the day I finished chemo, and all of that stuff. And which brings me to that. So after you were diagnosed, how soon thereafter did you start a treatment? Did you do chemo first, or did they have you do surgery first, or was it radiation?
Yeah, you know, they offered me a clinical trial. And I know you and I have talked about this at great length before, but I was on a clinical trial with a drug that was called veliparib.
And Courtney, if you don't mind, tell everybody what chose you, or what made you choose to have the clinical trial as opposed to just the standard regimen of chemotherapy that they might have been offering at that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the crazy thing is you know, I do makeup and hair for a living, and at that particular time, I didn't have insurance. And my husband, you know, was a dental assistant at the time, and he actually he had just started with a new company and had not been offered the insurance yet. But I wasn't even really thinking about how am I going to pay for this. I just knew that I needed to start chemo. And when I went in to visit my oncologist for the very first time, they said, you know, we've got this clinical trial and we're going to try to get you into it. And I had the research nurse came in. She's like, I call her my oncology mom because she really just became like my second mom. Her name was Kay, and I love her. She's just an amazing person. And she came in and she sat down with me and she was like, Courtney, this is a new drug. And this is, you know, she laid it all out there for me. She told me how hard it was going to be. She's like, this is not going to be easy. This is going to be really, really hard. And she said, but this is going to save so many women. And when she said that, there was no way that I couldn't do it, because I wanted to be able to save other women. Yeah. And that's really how I felt in that moment. So, sorry.
No, I mean, girl, I can relate to having that kind of passion probably better than anybody you know. Wanting to save other people,
And the crazy thing about it is that drug that I was on, you know, they say that triple negative responds very well to chemo, and so that's why they now, I believe when you were on it, did they do surgery first and then?
Yeah, but they based that, or they did at that time, they based it on the size of the tumor. So if you had a smaller tumor, they would do surgery first. And then chemo. Okay. If you had a larger tumor, they would do chemo first and then the surgery. Dr. O'Shaughnessy earlier was saying that now for everybody, they do the chemo first. So yeah, it's changed, right?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. And my oncologist was actually kind of following MD Anderson's kind of method of how they treat triple negative. And so I was on veliparib, which is an oral chemo drug, and that was the study drug. So I was on that. I was on carboplatin, and I was on Taxol, and I was also on the Red Devil. So 4 different chemo drugs in my clinical trial.
And just so everybody knows, the Red Devil is adriamycin, right? And
yes, adriamycin, AC.
So adriamycin and Cytoxin?
Yeah,
AC,
I mean, the name is very, I mean, it's the Red Devil, and it is the devil. Yeah. It was, you know, I thought I went through it really bad with the Taxol and Carbo and all of that in the veliparib, but when I hit the AC, you know, that was, and the way that they did it for me was the way that MD Anderson did it. So I did 20 weeks of chemo. My first regimen was those 3 drugs, and I did the voliparib every day. So I took that every day, and that was the oral drug. And then the carbo and Taxol were given like together every 2 weeks, and then every week Taxol.
Yeah.
So
that's some heavy duty stuff, dude. I mean,
I'm sorry?
I said that's some heavy duty stuff, because most of the women probably watching right now that are triple negative breast cancer survivors, I think the large majority of us had adriamycin, Cytoxan, which is AC, red level, all that, and then followed by Taxol. And so those are the 3 main ones that everybody pretty much gets. But you got that plus 2 other things. Is that right?
Yes. So I had 4 chemo drugs in me.
Yowza.
And I had to have a blood transfusion at one point. I mean, I was very, very sick, but I kept going. I never quit working. That gave me joy to work, and it helped me get through.
Mm-hmm.
When I hit AC, which was, I had, 4 weeks, I think it was, or 4 treatments of AC were over like an 8-week period, I think is what it is. Because you can't do it every week. Gosh, my chemo brain's getting to me now, but I believe it's, every other week or something like that, because it's just a really strong drug. And in the research trial that I was in, they had to dose reduce me because my body just could not handle the AC anymore at this point. So I only had 3 AC treatments. And that was because after my first one, I had such a horrible reaction to it that they dose reduced me. Mm-hmm. And so then the next time I went in, they had to dose reduce me again. So I was dose reduced like twice.
Wow.
And in my clinical trial, if you had to be dose reduced like more than twice, then they would just stop the chemo altogether.
Wow. Okay. Because
honestly, at that point, you're about to die. I mean, honestly, that's just the God honest truth, because, that's what chemo does. Chemo brings you to a point where it's killing everything in your body, including, good stuff.
Cells. One of the biggest things that it damages, or it basically affects all fast-moving cells, and your white blood cells are your fast-moving cells, and your white blood cells are the ones that help prevent or help fight illness. And so it's sort of, fighting against itself almost.
I was having neutropenic fevers that were just awful. I felt like I had the flu pretty much like all the time.
Wow.
And, their fear at that point was, me going septic or having to go into the hospital. And that's the last thing you want to have to do as a, somebody that's going through chemo, is to go into the hospital, because you're going to catch everything in the hospital. Yeah. So, they really try to keep you safe from having to do that, So I was wearing a mask all the time. At that point, that was like at the very end of my treatment. I did stop working as much during that point, and I just kind of stayed inside and did a lot of resting and, sleeping and just trying to eat good. I did a lot of juicing at that point because I was just trying to make myself feel better.
Just stay healthy and feel good. Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it was a hard road, and being on, it's weird. I mean, just talking about it is so weird, because it's definitely like it's a different person at a different time. And I think that we all kind of get this little bit of a post-traumatic stress after going through something like that,
Definitely.
So then you look back on it and you're just like, wow, was that even me?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to fathom that my body was able to do that, really.
Right.
And to get through it and to still be here to talk about it, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Amen. So at what point, after all of this, so you've gone through all the chemo and everything, is it afterwards that you had surgery?
Yes. So I had surgery pretty quickly afterwards. And, I did reconstruction. I chose to do reconstruction. I guess that's a little bit of my vainness in me. Now I feel like there's some days I feel like I wish I wouldn't have, just because you have that little bit of fear of something coming back. And then sometimes it's just because they're heavy and they're uncomfortable,
and
it's not, it's not like a normal, breast tissue.
Well,
you
I
have
think-
no breast tissue at all anymore. And then they put, these heavy silicone breast implants in, and it kills my back. And what I do for a living, like, I'm got my hands up doing hair and
Right.
makeup all the time, and it hurts.
Yeah,
honestly.
well, I think it's a good point that you bring up, and we I think you and I have talked about this probably hundreds of times, because I did not have reconstruction, and I
Right.
wear prosthetics and everything, and my thought process at that time for me was just that I just wanted to get in and out. I didn't want to have additional surgeries that weren't medically necessary for treating my cancer. So that was like kind of my thought process at that time. And we both agree that it is definitely, absolutely 100% a personal decision, and neither one of us would ever say do it or don't do it. But one of the things that I've found interesting in talking to women that have had reconstruction is that you guys also you don't have a lot of feeling. Like right now on my chest, I don't have a lot of feeling across my chest because a lot of the nerves were damaged and whatnot when I had my mastectomy. And so there's a lot of the portion of my chest that I can't feel. And most of the time I don't notice it. I was telling somebody the other day who's looking at possibly doing having a mastectomy and just trying to decide if they want to do reconstruction or not. And she's like, I just don't know if I want to deal with the numbness after you have reconstruction. I was like, well, I just want you to know you do still have numbness even if you don't have reconstruction, but the majority of the time I don't even notice it. Literally, the only time I notice is I have a little dog, and sometimes she'll walk across my chest, and I don't like it when she does that because I can't feel it on the surface, but I can feel it deeper, and so then it hurts.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But like if I put my hand across my chest, if I don't know why I would, just laying in bed, whatever. But I don't like the way it feels. It just kind of feels, like when your face, like when you're been to the dentist and your cheeks feel like they're big and you're touching your cheek and you're like, oh, that just feels weird.
Like
I don't want to touch my face because it feels weird. So to the point about your reconstruction, I think one thing that a lot of women don't realize is that when you have the reconstruction, you also lose a lot of feeling in your reconstructed breast. So I think most of the women don't have feeling in a large portion of their reconstructed breasts. Is that true for you?
Absolutely true for me. I mean, I have no feeling, and actually I have no feeling all the way back up underneath my underarms towards my back.
Wow.
It goes, there's my daughter giving me kisses.
She's awesome. A little cameo.
But no feeling. Yeah, it's all the way, it's like from here, just everything. Now, in between my chest, like right in here, I can feel a little bit. But nothing. I don't feel anything anymore. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and like I said, that doesn't change anything. It's not like we're saying don't do it or whatever. My big thing is I just think it's important to share knowledge so that everybody has the big picture. They have a full picture of all the different experiences and the expectations so that okay, this person, maybe they didn't have that numbness problem, or maybe they did, or maybe everybody does, and you just want to know, or like, is not doing reconstruction even an option? A lot of people don't realize, that that's an option. You could, as they call it, go flat. Because sometimes the doctors are just like, it's just built in. You're gonna have your chemo, you're gonna have your mastectomy, you're gonna have your reconstruction. It's just like built in. It's like when you want to schedule it. And at that time in your life, you're going through so much emotionally that you just sign up. You're like, yes, check, I'll do that, and check, I'll do that, check, I'll do that. And you don't think to yourself, hey, I don't have to do the reconstruction if I don't want to. And so, I just like to put it out there that it's an option if people want to consider it. So
yes,
I think sharing that information is really cool.
I think that you do just kind of you're like, I just want this done. I want this cancer gone. I want to do whatever I need to do to make myself feel better. So I think a lot of people, for me, I probably didn't do as much research as I should have on whether I really wanted reconstruction or not. Not that I didn't. I mean, honestly, I had one of the best plastic surgeons in Dallas, and My breasts look amazing. And I mean, if I showed them to you right now, you would never know that I even had breast cancer. I mean, I got very lucky in that way.
Wow, that's
and a lot
awesome.
of women are not lucky in that
Sure,
way.
yeah.
And so I've got very blessed and very lucky in that. But like I said, some days I wish I didn't have them at all, because you do have that uncomfortable feeling. You don't have feeling. I have itches that are very deep, and you can't get to it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And that is like the craziest feeling, and
Yeah.
it's so annoying. And, I've talked to my doctors about it, and they're like, well, I mean, that's just normal. It's just completely normal after having reconstruction, or even, just a full mastectomy with no reconstruction, and I do have pains, sharp pains every once in a while. And
Sure.
that's, from what I understand, is just nerve endings.
Yeah, even I have that. I have that happen as well. So I think that's just the nature of the beast. You've got a mastectomy.
Yes.
They're just, the way I think of it is like if my fingers are nerves, they're just coming out and cutting those off, and so then you still just have the ends of the nerves now are just raw, and they're just kind of sitting there. And so every now and then you'll just get those sharp, weird, odd pains. I think that's common for reconstruction or no reconstruction. One thing that I was curious about, I know with double mastectomy with no reconstruction, the recovery time for that was about 6 weeks for me. I did do physical therapy and stuff like that, as soon as I could and everything. But what was the time period from the moment you had the mastectomy until your reconstruction was complete, and how many surgeries did it entail?
So I did a reconstruction mastectomy type surgery. It's about a 4-hour surgery where my plastic surgeon did 2 hours of a mastectomy. And then my breast surgeon did 2 hours, took her about 2.5 hours to do my mastectomy. And then they switch off, and the plastic surgeon comes in and does the last 2 hours of the surgery. And he actually placed expanders in, which are very uncomfortable. They're like an implant, but they're very thick, and they have like these little hole thingies, and then it's like a hard little piece in it. So when you go into the doctor's office, they basically inflate that with saline, so you can get to the size that you want to be. So there's all these like things with it. I think it was about 6 weeks that I had to be out, like couldn't drive or whatever for like 6 weeks. And then I was going in. I was pretty much going in to see my plastic surgeon every week for like, I don't know how long it was, until I got, I don't even remember how many. Was it 1 month? My daughter says it was 1 month, so she's probably right. She was going with me to these appointments, bless her little heart.
Oh my goodness.
So we were always really open and honest with her about everything, and that's
so
why
cool.
I don't mind sitting here with her cuddled up with me talking about it.
Of course not. Yeah, she's a rock star herself, man.
She knows everything about it. And,
yeah.
It's knowledge is power for our young ones, for sure.
Well, were there additional surgeries, like when they do the mastectomy and they put the expanders in and all that? Were there additional surgeries later?
Yes. So I had the expanders placed at the same time as my mastectomy. So then I believe it was 4 months. It was either 4 to 6 months that I had what they call the exchange surgery. And I think it was like 6 months. And so basically they just go in and they do like an exchange. They just take the expanders out and put your implants in. And then with that, I still had to do fat grafting, because your skin is thinner, and so you can kind of see the ripples of the implant, because obviously you don't have all of that tissue and stuff covering up anything. Like if you were just to go and get a regular breast implants done, you wouldn't see like those ripples and stuff. But when you had a mastectomy, you've got a lot of fat and tissue that's been removed, so you basically just have your skin there, covering it. So when you have an implant placed in there, you can see some of those ripples and stuff, and it looks like little holes and stuff in the skin. So the way that they can fix that is doing fat grafting. And so I had fat grafting done And what they do with that is they actually do liposuction, and they suck out fat and then place it back into your breast. But you have a 50-50 chance of that fat making it. Mm-hmm. So I think my plastic surgeon said, you know, maybe 50% of what he basically transplants from your tummy to your breasts will actually like live, because it does die off. And it's so funny because I've been doing the keto diet recently, and I noticed that I've lost so much of that fat that he actually did in the liposuction thing. So the fat grafting is what they call it. And it's pretty interesting because, gosh, that's been, you know, 3 years ago that I had the fat grafting done. And now I'm still losing fat from that just because I've been dieting.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. So now I'm going to have it done again. I mean, it's kind of an ongoing thing. I mean, when you do choose to do reconstruction, it's an ongoing thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, and they really, you know, it's, you know, you've got to go in every 7 years and have them replaced. I mean, it's really important.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. I had no idea.
Yes,
every 7 years you have to have them replaced.
And yeah, and I mean, also, you know, I gained a lot of weight during chemo. I gained like 50 pounds. And so my breast size that I chose to go with during the initial reconstruction is way different than what I want now, because I've lost some weight and I'm still losing weight. And, you know, my plastic surgeon is like, you know, the more weight that you lose, that's great. You know, they want you to lose weight because you know, your oncologist was like, take care of yourself, lose weight, you know, so you can stay healthy and you don't have reoccurrence. You know, they want your weight down so you don't have a reoccurrence. And so the more and more that you lose weight, like the more that your reconstruction changes. So then you have to go back in and you have to do all these changes and stuff. So it really is, when you do choose to do reconstruction, it is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it's a lifetime commitment. I mean, you know, my prosthetics are a lifetime commitment too. I have to go buy new ones at the store every 3 years. So yeah, well, I don't have to, but I do, and it's a lot easier process. I think you probably just, you know, I walk in the store, I'm like, yeah, I need a new rack, and
I know,
and I've done a few.
Sometimes I really feel like, I mean. You know, it's lately I've been feeling like, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't have these heavy things.
Well, there, you know, it's good to point out, we're gonna have to wrap up because I know we've got a schedule to stick to, but it's good to point out that there are a lot of great double mastectomy support groups out there on Facebook. There's a lot of great triple negative breast cancer support groups as well. So anybody out there watching right now, if you're a breast cancer survivor, be sure and tune into those. There's a lot of really good conversations going on, and a lot of honest conversations about reconstruction, no reconstruction, just the experiences each one of us has had going through each thing. So it's a whole nother world of information. So Courtney, girl, it's so good to see you again and to chat again and to share your story with our viewers.
Yes,
you're a
I
freaking
always love
rock star.
chatting with you, April.
I love talking to you too, man. And each year, getting your updates and just seeing your gorgeous face is incredible. So thank you so much for joining, Courtney, and we'll look forward to hopefully having you back again next year for the 5th year in a row.
Thanks, April. I'm excited to be on again, and God bless you.
God bless you, girl.
And God bless all of the other triple negative girls out there fighting. And
Amen.
You know, we're here for each other. And there's so much love in this community. There really is. So
truly is. Thank you, girls, so much. You have a great night, okay?
You too, April.
For me, okay?
Bye.
See y'all later.